So this is Mrs. Bentley, and I'm here to go over the lesson literal equations. First of all, let's talk about what a literal equation is. It is an equation where variables represent known values. You're going to find that when you're given a literal equation, you will often be asked to solve the equation for a given variable. The goal is to isolate that given variable, and the process is the same process that we've been using when we solve linear equations. The only difference you're going to see is that you will be working with a lot more variables and you may not be able to simplify as much. Okay, let's take a look at some examples. Example 1. We're given the equation 6 equals mx plus b, and we're asked to solve the equation 4x. So our goal is to get the x by itself. So I like to box the variable that I'm solving for. And if you notice, the x does have a coefficient of m, and the b would be considered the constant because it's not with the other two variables. So our goal is going to be, first of all, to subtract b on both sides. And on the left side, we have 6 minus b. Well, those are not like terms, so we're just going to have to write the expression out as 6 minus b equals m times x, and b minus b would still equal 0, so they cancel out. Our next step, we're still trying to get the x by itself, so now notice the m is being multiplied times the x, so our inverse would be to divide both sides of the equation by m, and that's going to now allow us to isolate the variable x. I'm going to rewrite this with the x in front, so my equation would be x equals 6 minus b divided by m. Now this is going to help us when we're asked to find the value of x, because now we have the x value isolated. So if you notice in the next step, it says if m equals 4 and b equals 10, find the value of x. We're going to use our x equation that we've just created, and we're going to substitute the values in for the given variables. So we have 6 minus b, and they're telling us that b equals 10, and we're going to divide by the value of m equals 4. And now we're going to use our order of operations. On top, we're going to do our subtraction step. 6 minus 10 simplifies to negative 4, and then negative 4 divided by positive 4 equals negative 1. So we know the value of x equals negative 1. Okay, if you take a look at example 2, we're given the equation a equals p plus p r, or a equals p plus p times r times t, and we're asked to solve for t. So again, we're looking for where our t is located. Our t has coefficients pr. This p is not with our t, so we would want to move this p over to the opposite side, and since it's positive, we're going to subtract p on both sides. And again, the a and the p are not like terms, so we're going to write the expression out. A minus p equals, our p minus p equals 0. They cancel out. And we still have p times r times t. Now again, we're trying to only keep the t. And when you have variables all multiplied together, you're just going to divide out the variables you're trying to move to the opposite side. So we're going to divide by the p and the r on both sides. So here p divided by p is 1, r divided by r is 1, so we're left with just our t. So our final equation is t equals a minus p divided by p times r. And I know this looks a little strange, but the goal is to get the t by itself. Now we're going to use the t equation, and we're given values to substitute in for each variable. So t equals, a equals 35, and here's where a is in the equation, so 35 minus p, that is 12, and we're going to divide by p, 12 times r. Okay, now we're just going to do our math and simplify, so we're going to simplify the numerator, simplify the denominator, and then we'll check to see if we can divide or reduce the fraction. So 35 minus 12, that's going to simplify to 23. And 12 times 3, that's going to simplify to 36. And then just check to see, can you reduce the 23 over 36? Okay, and we cannot reduce, so we can just leave this as a fraction. T equals 23 over 36. So we could not reduce, so T equals 23 over 36. Okay, look at example 3. This should look hopefully familiar to you guys. This is one form of a linear equation. You'll see in the next unit we'll solve for y quite often. Every time we have to graph a linear equation, we'll want to solve the equation for y. So in order to get the y by itself, we would want to start by moving the term that contains the variable x. And since it's a positive 3x, we're going to subtract 3x on both sides. And 3x minus 3x equals 0. We still have our negative 4y on the left equals, in mathematics, standard form is to put the term that has the variable first. So we would put the negative 3x first, and then our constant, so the plus 12. And now to get the y by itself, this is negative 4 times y, so we need to go across and divide each term by negative 4. So negative 4 divided by negative 4, that simplifies to positive 1y, so we can write this as y equals negative 3/4, or negative 3 divided by negative 4, that's going to simplify to positive 3/4 x. And positive 12 divided by negative 4 simplifies to negative 3, so we can write that as minus 3. So now the equation is what we call slope-intercept form, and it is solved for y. We're now asked, it says, what is the value of y given x equals 16? So we're going to say y equals 3/4 times 16 minus 3. Here you could do that cross-reduce. You could do the 16 divided by 4 and multiply, or you can say 3 times 16 and divide by 4. I'm going to do 16 divided by 4, and that's 4, and then times 3. So this is going to equal 12, and we still have our minus 3. So keep simplifying. 12 minus 3, so y equals 9. Okay, in example 4, we have our actual area formula of a rectangle. Area equals length times width. They're wanting us to manipulate the equation and solve for w. So if you notice, the w is being multiplied by the L, the length. So in order to get the w by itself, we just need to divide both sides of the equation by L. And we use a cursive L so it doesn't look like a 1. So here, L divided by L is just 1. So we have our w by itself. So our width equals the area divided by the length. So it says, given the area of 112 feet squared and a length of 16 feet, what is the width? So now we can take our width equation and we can substitute in the area, and we know we need to divide the area by the length and then just do the calculation. So the width is going to equal 7. So we're going to get 7 feet for the width, and that is your answer. Okay, in example 5, we are given the equation d minus e equals j, and we're asked to solve for d. So in order to get the d by itself, the only term we need to move to the opposite side is the e. And since it's a minus e, or negative e, we will need to add e on both sides. So our negative and our positive e equals 0. We're left with d equals, and it doesn't matter really the order here. You could write this as j plus e, or with addition you can reverse it, e plus j. Okay, we're now given some values to substitute into the new equation. So it says given j equals negative 35 and e equals 50, what is the value of d? So So we're going to say D equals, J is negative 35, and then plus E, E is 50, so we just need to calculate negative 35 plus 50, so we'll get D equals 15. Okay, you have some practice on the back of those examples on the same worksheet. So if you'll flip over to the back, I'm going to work a few more with you guys to get you started. And then your assignment will be to finish the rest. And then there is a quizzes I've sent to your Google Classroom to work on. So for number 1, we have A equals L times W. We just saw this formula on the previous, on those examples, but in the first problem we were asked to solve for W. In this problem we're asked to solve for L. Same process. If you notice, the L and the W are being multiplied. So if we only want to keep the L, we would divide both sides of the equation by the W. W divided by W equals 1. So now that allows us to get our L by itself. So the length equals the area divided by the width. And now it says given a rectangle with an area of 405 inches squared and a width of 27 inches, find the length. So we're going to say length equals our area 405, and we're going to divide by 27. And we'll calculate that, 405 divided by 27. That's going to simplify to 15. So our length equals 15 inches. Okay, if you go over to the right, number 2, we have the area equals 1/2 times base times height, and we're asked to solve for B. So this is your area of a triangle formula. We're trying to get the B by itself. Notice there is a fraction. So in order to clear the fraction, since the denominator is 2, I'm going to go ahead and multiply both sides of my equation by 2. So 2 times A simplifies to 2A. 2 times the 1/2, that's just going to equal 1, so we have 1BH. So we're allowed to just simplify that to BH. And now this is B times H, so we're trying to only keep the B. So we will divide both sides of the equation by the H. H divided by H equals 1, so we have 1B. Again, we can simplify that to just that single variable B equals 2 times the area divided by the height. Now that we have a formula for finding the base, it says given a triangle with an area of 192 feet squared and a height of 32 feet, find the base. So again, we're just going to substitute in the given values. We're going to say base equals 2 times the area, that's 192, and we're going to divide by the height, 32. You'll need to calculate the numerator, simplify the numerator, and then divide. So we'll do 2 times 192, and that's 384, and then we're going to divide by 32. And you should find that the base equals 12, and the unit of measure was feet, so that's 12 feet. Okay, number 5, I think you guys can handle that one, so just go back and do number 5 on your own. Let's look at number 4. We haven't done one with the pi symbol, so let's just talk about that a little bit. This is your circumference formula of a circle. So the circumference equals 2 times pi times r, r standing for the radius. Notice to the side it does tell us to use 3.14 for pi. So they want us to first of all solve this formula for r. And this 2 times pi times r, it's all being multiplied. So if we only want to keep the r, we want to get r by itself, we need to divide by 2 pi on both sides. So a formula that we can use to find our radius is we can take the circumference, if we know the distance around the circle, we can take the circumference and then we can divide by 2 times pi, and that will allow us to find the radius of the circle. The radius is the distance from the center to any point on the circle. So if you look, it says given a circle with a circumference of 307.72 inches, find the radius. So we're going to say radius equals, we're going to substitute in the place of the C, the 307.72, and then we're going to divide by 2 times pi, and the problem told us to substitute in 3.14. So we need to actually simplify the denominator first this time. Let's go ahead and multiply 2 times 3.14, and that's going to simplify to 6.28. And now our last step is we're going to take the circumference at 307.72, and we're going to divide by the 6.28. And that simplifies to 49. So this circle has a radius of 49 inches. It's a pretty big circle. All right, so that's going to finish up the problems that I'm going to work on with you. You'll need to go back and complete any problem that I did not work out on the practice side on your own. This assignment will be collected for a completion grade. And after you finish this assignment, you may work on the quizzes in Google Classroom and your ALEKS assignment. The sub will also be giving you your test review, so you can start working on your test review. And then when I return tomorrow, we will have a little bit more class time to finish up the test review, and then we'll work out those problems together in class. Thank you guys for being so great, and I'll see you tomorrow.